What's up, YouTube? My name is Jason and welcome to One Up Pokemon. Today, we're going to have something a little bit different on the channel. After our graded reveal that I did, the video that I posted last week, it got me thinking, after looking at the Charizard cards, and if you missed it, go check it out. Let me actually grab one of the cards. After looking at the Charizard cards, there's one card, is it right here? There was one card that got me thinking. And specifically, it was this card, if you remember. If you checked it out. It was a PSA 8 Charizard. And other than the centering, everything else on the card looked really, really good. And I know, grading is very subjective. So what you think is a 10 may not be a 10. What you think is an 8 might not be an 8. You may get a 9, you may get a 10. And then there's other people who believe in population control. But the thing why this got me thinking is that this got an 8. The back is clean. The surface, I didn't see much. The centering is not too far off. For this card to get an 8, I thought it was really undergraded. On the other hand, I did get another card. Another Charizard card. This one got a 10. And when I looked it over, there was some whitening on the back. Well, this got me thinking. A lot of people talk about BGS and subgrades. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the 9.5s and 9s of things like that because I think it's kind of like a false gem card. But then again, I think this Charizard right here that I got from PSA that considered a 10 is a false 10. Knowing that there is some flaws on the card. Now, it might be within the parameters, but at the same time, I don't think this is an 8. So it got me thinking about the subgrades. And I did buy this 10 Charizard because I believe a 10 is a 10 throughout everywhere you go. But it also got me thinking that maybe this Charizard deserved a 10 because it is flawless. And that the subgrades may be where we should be heading for in this modern era of Pokemon cards. And the reason being is that Pokemon cards right now are overprinted. There is so much printing going on to meet the demand. And, I mean, you can see it in the booster boxes. Booster boxes haven't gone up in prices. If you're a Pokemon investor, collector, that nature, booster boxes have relatively dropped. Which is insane to say, considering that Vivid Vultures was up, about $250? Probably like 2.5-3 months ago. Now they're roughly 120, 125 to 140, maybe max. That's crazy to say. So yeah, so with all that information being said, the thought that came to my mind is, should we go to a more subgrade grading system where we know what exactly is wrong with the card? So that way we could determine whether or not it's a true gem mint card. BGS does have this thing called the True Gem, which is 9.5s for all 4 subgrades. Another company that I see doing this, actually a lot of companies are doing this, but another company that's coming up is CGC. Now this is a big player in the Pokemon card game for investing and collecting. They have their own subgrades. Now I'm not a fan of their slaps, but I do see what they're doing and I can see them becoming a big player in grading. Now again, I'm only talking about this because Pokemon is being overprinted. So there's so many cards out there. I think with and we're going to take a look at some of the numbers here between PSA and Bgs Pop Reports. How many cards are being graded? How many of them are gems? And whether or not, like, the overprinting and quality control is so good is that if you were to pull a pack fresh card, most of the time, 70% of the time, you have a gem mint card in your hands that you could grade right away. Now, that card may be gem mint right away, but just how good of a card is it? How good of a quality is it? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the overprinting of Pokemon cards and the pop reports that PSA and BGS both have, and whether or not subgrades will become a big factor later on in the hobby in terms of investing and collecting. Will PSA remain king, or will companies like BGS and CGC overtake them in the Pokemon market because they tell you exactly how good the card is? Again, grading is subjective. So before we get into the actual pop reports of both PSA and BGS, if you are new, please consider subscribing. I do Pokemon uploads on this channel every two videos a week, 2 to 3 videos a week. So if you like that, subscribe. Also hit the like button if you do find yourself enjoying the video. Now, let's get into the numbers. So the first card that I really want to talk about is the Champion's Path Charizards. Now, mostly all these cards are going to be Charizards, because Charizard is the big one people want to collect, people are trying to invest in, and the one that, you know, the card everybody loves. It's an iconic card from the original base set all the way up to now. Any Charizard that gets released is going to get graded. And they go for a pretty penny, too. I think the rare card from Vivid Voltage, the non-holo Charizard, is going for like $80, $90 in a PSA 10. For a regular rare card that you can pull from any pack, really? Because you get a reverse and non-holo. So, yeah, we're going to look at Champion's Path, though. Specifically, we're going to look at both the Shiny Charizard V and the Charizard V Max Rainbow Rare. And we'll also take a look at the promo, because I did send in, I think, 5. No, I sent in 8 cards for the promo for that from that submission. 1 got a 10. 3 got 9s, 4 got 8s. So we take a look here at the numbers, right? The Full Art Charizard V, the secret rare version, the shiny one, the one everybody wanted. Well, some people didn't want the Rainbow Rare. I'm actually happy that I got one. But the Full Art Charizard V, we have 8,200 of them graded already at PSA. And still more counting. 5,600 of them are PSA 10s. That is roughly a 70% 10 rate. So you have a 70% chance, again, like I said, 70% of the time, you're going to pull a card out of the pack, and it's going to jam up real quick. So 5,600 of them are 10s. 2,000 are 9s. And that's insane for a card that came out, when did this came out? Like, the end of last year? Not even a full year. This card has not been out for a full year, and we already have 8,000 of them graded. Roughly 6,000, 5,500, right? Roughly 6,000 of them are 10s. That's insane. If we took a look at the Becker report too, the Charizard Shiny V Secret Rare, there's 1,900 of them graded, with 1,100 of them being Gem Mint 9.5s. Now here's the big kicker with Beckett. 536 of them are 10s, and 52 of them are black labels. Now this is where everything comes into play with Beckett. The cool thing about Beckett is that they do have subgrades. And again, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of subgrades because I believe there are false Gem Mint cards. But recently I've been proven wrong, because PSA, I think, gave me a false Gem Mint card in the Charizard. I think it's more of a 9, and I think the 8 is closer to a 9 or to a 10 than the 10 that I actually got. But then again, that's just my opinion. I'm not a professional grader. And again, it's all subjective. So what they think could be the opposite of what I think. But using their PSA and BGS grading standards, because they tell you what they believe is a good centering, what is a PSA 10 worthy centering, what is a PSA 10 or what is a Gem Mint worthy candidate with corners, damage, and centering is for the cards. So but by using that and coming to a logical conclusion of a card when I want to send it to get graded, for the most part I figure it to be a 9 or a 10. And for this 8, to me it looks more of a 10 than it does an 8. And for the 10 that they gave me, it looks more of a 9 than a 10. By their standards, by what they say on their website. So the cool thing about Beckett, again, is what I'm saying, is that with these Gem Mint cards, these are all 9.5s, they tell you what the subgrades got, what the centering grade is, what they think. Is it a 9, a 9.5, an 8.5, or a 10? I think if you get an 8.5, I think you can't get a 9.5 Gem Mint. But nonetheless, they tell you the grade. So again, looking at Beckett's methods of using the subgrades, this to me seems more of the way we should be grading cards now compared to in the past, because of how many cards are being printed. There are so many cards. Again, the Charizard, just the Shiny V. We haven't even gotten to the VMAX, the Shiny V. We have 1,900 of them by Beckett, and then we have 8,000 of them by PSA. That's 10,000 cards, and this set hasn't even been released for a full year. That is crazy. That is crazy to me. 10,000 of these cards. And when we get later, you're going to see how crazy it is, because when we look at evolutions, and not considering that it's a secret rare, but how many cards of it has been printed, it has been graded. Considering that it has been out for, what, 5 years now, Evolutions, and that we know that it was printed so much, that it was deemed a terrible set until recent memory. But again, let's look at the VMAX now. The Charizard VMAX, that one, we have 8,200 of them at PSA, with 6,000 of them being the 10. It's nearly identical. It's almost identical as the full art. It's actually a better gem rate than the Charizard V Shiny full art. But yeah, and then at Beckett, again, it's 1,900. 51 of them are black labels and 600 of them are 10s. But it's relatively the same, which brings me to that even we're not even a year in, and these cards are hitting numbers that Evolutions is hitting. And I know this might be like the big, everybody's sending their cards in, but still, you have to print those cards and then get them graded. So the cards are being printed this much and then being sent in. Even more crazy, let's take a look at the promo cards, right? So the Champion's Path Charizard promo card, there's 6,000 of them graded. 3,700 of them are PSA 10s, which is roughly about a 60%. Even then, that's still pretty high. And then with Beckett, 1,500 of them are graded over there, with 850 of them being 9s, 9.5s actually, gem mints. 337 are 10s, and we have 38 black labels. Again, even with the point that I'm trying to make, even right now, it seems people and investors value a BGS 10 and a black label, well, of course the black label, but a BGS 10 more than a PSA 10. And it's not by much. I think a BGS 10 will probably fetch you roughly about 10 to 15% more than a PSA 10. But that's not to say later on that it won't fetch even more. I mean, we hear from a lot of, people who talk about the BGS 10 base set Charizard, that is the best Charizard out there. I mean, even the SGC Pristine, if you don't know what SGC is another grading company, but they don't do subgrades. It's more of a PSA kind of a thing, where it goes 1 through 10, but they do have a 9.5 grade in their system. But an SGC 10 Pristine Charizard sold for, I think, what was it, $350,000 to $400,000 before, and this was the first edition Shadows, before that astronomical price with Logan Paul did this past year. So it seems as though anything that has a higher grade than a PSA 10, a pristine kind of a grade, will outsell a PSA 10 every time. That's why this BGS 10 versus Shadowless Charizard will probably be the most expensive Charizard out there if it gets sold. But it's also not just the Champion's Path. Let's look at Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates is getting so many reprints recently that it's getting crazy. And even to this day still, it's not as high as Champion's Path. If we look at a Full Art Charizard GX, the shiny version, from the shiny vault, only 5,000 of them have been graded to PSA. That's 3,000 less than both the shiny Charizard V and the VMAX Charizard. Not only that, Beckett has 1,900, which is on par with the shiny V and the shiny V and the Rainbow Rare VMAX Charizard. But 182 of these cards are 10s, black labels. 642 are pristine 10s. Even with that high amount of black label and 10s, they still outsell a PSA 10. And there are roughly 3,000 PSA 10 cards out there and 1,800 9s. And with so many cards out there, it would be nice to know if this is a true gem card, or is it just, an overgraded card. Again, I'm going to keep bringing it up. This Charizard does have some whitening on the back, but it's still got a 10. There are those false 10s out there. And I was a believer that a 10 would be a 10 everywhere. Now, it's not so much. Again, I've always said that grading is subjective. I don't think PSA or BGS does pop control. I don't think any company does pop control. If it's a 10, they'll give it a 10. I mean, look at BGS. If they're pop controlling this Charizard GX, 182 of them would not be black labels. 642 of them would not be 10s. If you combine both 10s, the black label and regular pristine 10, there's more in the population report than actual 9.5s. So I don't think there's pop control at all. I think people just expect too much out of a grading company, and they have really high expectations for a card just to try to make money. And it's more of a money thing for them that they're upset that they do say pop control. But yeah, I mean, if you talk about like an old base set Charizard, you're talking about a card that's been around for 25 years. No, not even. It's been around for roughly 22 years, because base set, the English version, came out in 1999. Right now it's 2021. So that's 22 years, roughly, right? Give or take. So you're talking about a card that if you open it from a pack fresh card, even still, you're hoping that 22 years have passed by and that card is still in pristine shape, which I kind of doubt. But for all these new cards, you get it out of a pack, you have a chance to get a pristine and a black label. So next up, let's hit up Evolutions. A holo Charizard. And it's a holo. Holo cards, where you get roughly 6 box, there are 13,000 of these Charizard being graded. The regular holo Charizards. 13,000 of them. That's a big number. Now that's higher than the secret rare Charizards that I said about Champion's Path. But that's not that far off. Now everybody knows that Evolution is printed to the moon and back. I mean, heck, when the craze started happening, the Pokemon Company pushed out Kanto boxes. That's how much product they had left over from when they were printing it. But Charizard Holos, 13,000 of them are graded at PSA. And there are 834 of them graded at BGS. Now here's the kicker with this. Now when it comes to cards like these, when we do have a set that has bad print quality, to me, with this, if you're investing, it doesn't matter whether you get a PSA 10 or a BGS 10 or BGS 9.5, because it's already hard enough to get them in a gem mint grade. If you can get them in a pristine, that'll be awesome. But if you look at it, PSA has only 263 of these cards in 10s, but 8,000 of them in 9, 4,000 of them in 8. And we look at Becky, it's relatively the same thing. 131 of these cards are gem mints. There are no pristine cards of these Charizards. So if you're able to find a pristine card of this Charizard, that'll be really, really good. Not only that, there are 446 9s and 211 8.5s. Yeah, Becky only got 834 of these cards. PSA got 13,000 of them. My goodness, how many of those PSA 9s could actually be a 9.5? If you're looking at, I mean, again, centering is going to be the big part. Centering and print lines. If you have print lines or centering, you're not getting a gem mint card. But yeah, after seeing this PSA 8, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these PSA 9s are actually gem mint worthy. I bring this up not to say that, you know, this is a card that should have subgrades. Well, the 9s probably should. But that in 2016, we printed a lot of Evolutions. There are 13,000 of these Charizards being graded. And in 2020, we printed Champion's Path, where there's a total of 16,000 secret rare Charizards out there from PSA. That's crazy. Now, no, there's 10,000, combining both PSA and Beckett. We're not including CGC or SGC, but Beckett and PSA combined. You have a pop report of 10,000 for each of the Rainbow Rare VMAX and the Shiny Charizard V. So again, I'm making the case that PSA won't be king going on down the road. I mean, if the overprinting continues, which it doesn't seem like it's going to stop, Beckett and CGC might be the way to grade with subgrades, just so we know the quality of the card. Because with so many of them being out there, there's not really any way to distinguish whether it's a gem mint or not, considering that 70% of the time it's a gem mint card. So, continuing on with the numbers, again, these are all Charizards. Darkness Ablaze. Let's look at Darkness Ablaze. Now, I don't think you should go out and buy a Darkness Ablaze booster box right now. I think they're going for $180. There's not much value in the box if you were to open it. Even if you get every single best card, you would not get your money back. The card you are chasing is a Charizard VMAX card. There's not even a rainbow. That one is in Champion's Path. And then there's not even a full art for the Charizard V that's in this. So you just have a regular Charizard V Ultra and an Ultra full art Charizard VMAX. The VMAX is the best card. And I think that for right now is going for roughly $80 to $90. So for a box that costs $180 to get a card that's $80 to roughly $90, there's no guarantee that it could be a 10 too if you pull it pack fresh. Although you do, looking at this number, have a 90% chance, but also knowing that, hey, there's that 10% chance of it not being a 10. It's not really worth it. For me personally, I don't say it's worth buying the box to open. Buying the box to invest in and hold might be a better solution. Now, there are 5,000 of these VMAX cards graded right now. 5,000 of these Full Art Charizard VMAX. 4,000 of them, 4,000 plus, are 10s. That means it's an 80% chance of you getting a Charizard VMAX and it being a 10. 786 of them are 9. 78 of them are 8s. And I have one of those 78s. Moving on to BGS Population Report, they have 1,500 of these Charizards graded. Roughly 1,500. 22 of them are black labels. 375 of them are pristine 10 gold labels. 973 of these are gem mints. Now I have one of the 375 of these. This is an investment piece, and I think will go further than any PSA 10 would. Knowing that I don't know how many cards this will be at in 5-10 years. This might be the same amount of what a base set Charizard is at right now. And we're going to get into that. We're actually going to get into that next. Seeing how these modern cards are hitting roughly 10,000 cards right now in their system. I mean, the Charizard, for this Charizard VMAX is 6,500 cards graded from both BGS and PSA. We just saw that the Charizard VMAX and the Charizard V from Champion's Path are both at 10,000, combining both BGS and PSA pop reports. So if we look at, and there is one card that I think, if you're looking to invest in a Charizard card, there's one card I think you should invest in over everything else. But we'll get into that at the end. So right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the Charizard Holo from base set. Not the first edition Charizard Shadowless, not the Shadowless Charizards. Those Charizards I think are good investments from either grading company. With the Charizard from base set, from PSA, you're looking at 24,000 of these cards graded. Now 440 of them are 10s, where like 5,000 and so forth. I mean, even the 4s in the 1,000. But 5,000 of these cards are 9s, and then you go down the line. But 440 of these are 10s. And I only bring this up again. This is an old set. This is a set that's 22 years old, so you're not going to get many 10s. But the reason why I bring this up is that this set is 22 years old, and there's 24,000 of these cards graded. 24,000. The Champion's Path Charizards are nearly half the way there in not even over a year. And then if we look at Beckett has 2,400 of these cards. So Beckett and PSA both bring roughly 29,000 of base set unlimited Charizards graded. But yeah, again, I bring that up because 24,000. Now, if we got that today, how many of those Charizards would be PSA 10s right off the pack, right? Because you're not going to see you're going to see very few pack fresh pulled Charizards to get a 10 or gem mint. But yeah, even then, base set Charizard, there's only one pristine 10. This BGS 10 from base set unlimited Charizard is better than any PSA 10. And there's only 187.95 gem mint cards from Beckett. 29,000 of these cards have been graded. And with modern, if we're going up to the 5-figure level, dude, that to me is insane. And that to me is why I am saying that PSA may not be king for long when it comes to Pokemon cards. I think BGS or CGC may take over the Pokemon market. Maybe not now, but I do think they have a high chance of doing that, mainly because of subgrades. And again, I only say that because there are so many cards being printed. And if there's so many cards being printed and there's so many of them getting 10s, you want to be able to distinguish which 10 is better than the other one. Prior to making this video, prior to getting these cards back from PSA, I wasn't a fan of subgrades because I think that I was going to send my special delivery Pikachu to Beckett. The reason was because everything was good except it had a nick in the corner, and a small nick. And I thought PSA may give it a 9. And I was going to go with Beckett so I could get a 9.5 potential graded special delivery Pikachu, because I could get a 9.5 in all other 3 categories, but possibly a 9 in the corner category. But now looking at it, PSA has the same thing. Not all their 10s are created equal. And again, I keep pointing it out because it's true. This Gem Mint Charizard, this promo, is not, to me, a true gem because it does have whitening on the back. Whereas this 8 is just centering. And I think centering is roughly in that 60-40 area for PSA. It might be 65-35. But still, to me, it does not warrant an 8 grade. This is a really good card. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think Beckett will take over PSA in a few years, or maybe sooner rather than later, considering that there are so many cards being printed? Or will PSA still remain king? PSA still has a chance to stay on top. Personally, for me, if I have a Pokemon card that I think is in pristine shape, even if I know it's going to get a PSA 10, I mean, hey, I probably don't even know anymore either, but if I look at all what PSA says and I think that it could get a PSA 10, if I think it's pristine, I'm going to go with Beckett. Just to try to get the pristine 10. And if it gets 2 9.5s and 2 10s, I will still be happy because I think that card will be better than a PSA 10. But that is just me. Again, let me know down in the comment section what you think about this. And also, if you find yourself enjoying the video, hit the like button. If you're new and you stood this long, hit subscribe or consider it, please. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Now, before we go, I did say there's a card in here that I think will be a very good investment piece. And that card is the Rainbow Rare Charizard GX from Burning Shadows. Now, I say that card is a good investment piece because quality control on Burning Shadows and a lot of the Sun and Moon stuff was pretty bad. The early Sun and Moon stuff. There are currently only 2,900 of these cards graded at PSA. 726 of them are 10s. That is only a 25% gem rate. Now, I do have one of these cards. Unfortunately, it is not a 10, it's a 9. And even as a 9, it still commands a premium because the 9 is pretty much like a 10 for this card, considering how low the population is. 2,900 of these cards are graded at PSA. Now, considering that we just went through Darkness Blaze and Champion's Path, how much is being printed there, Burning Shadows for Beckett, the Secret Rare, the Full Art, 203 of them are graded there. There is not one pristine card of there. There's 44 gems and 92 9s and the rest, below. But there is no gem and no black label. Imagine what that could go for if we were able to find one. But again, I think this card is a big card to invest in. If you plan on investing in any Charizard, it should be this one. This Charizard, I think, will go higher for any of the Hidden Fates, any of the shiny Charizards. It could be up there with roughly the Gold Star Charizards. Things of that nature. Because it is so rare, so underprinted, and so hard to get a gem mint grade on it. But that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button. Also, subscribe if you're new, if you stuck around this long. We will be back on Pokemon openings in the next video, or we might have a PSA return opening in the next video. It depends on which one comes, if PSA comes back relatively soon. But again, let me know what you guys think about Beckett, PSA, subgrades. Which one would take over? Which one would be better investment in the long run? But until next time, have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.